to speak to that illness. Speak to that.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Overcoming Illness. I'm Paula Denoncourt, your host, founder, and CEO of Enrich Your Health. I am a holistic health coach. I've been doing my business since about 2010, and I help my clients stop living a life of suffering and pain, and I do that through changing diet and lifestyle very simply and easily with simple recipes that you can find on the website. You can go to enrichyourhealth.com, and if you're listening, that's ENRICHURHEALTH.com. You can go to the store. If it's empty, please go to the other store. It's under construction. They are there, I promise you. You can get free gifts there. I have a free Reversing Illness digital ebook, and I have a 6-day immunity meal plan guide for you there as well. But they're all digital ebooks and recipe books based on things that like I suffered from. I suffered from multiple food allergies, if you've never seen my show. So they're dairy-free recipes, gluten-free, nut-free, or they can just be altered very simply, eliminate the dairy or whatever. I give you suggestions in those digital ebooks, and I'm also available looking to partner with other people, other practitioners, and help people out there that need recipes. I would love to be able to help your clients or patients that need recipes. That was the one thing that was missing in my life when I was diagnosed with multiple food allergies. So if you've never seen my show, I highly suggest you go back and watch some of the replays. Please give Elevation TV Network some love over on YouTube. They have an amazing YouTube channel with some amazing other broadcasters. So please go watch some of those shows, like, subscribe. I have a YouTube channel now too. It's under Enrich Your Health. Please go over and subscribe to that. I'll be adding more on there as well. But tonight I have an amazing guest who suffered from something I've never heard of ever. And what she told me, what she has gone through, I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just like, holy cow, what an unbelievable thing. So Natasha Pennant is the owner of the Health Conscious Diva LLC. It's a health and wellness corporation that helps people become their own health advocate when navigating the healthcare system. She's also the founder of Purple Soul Kitchen, cooking classes for individuals who want to learn more about cooking plant-based foods, and Let's Go Plant-Based, which I'm excited to learn more about that. I'd like to learn more. It's a membership community for those wanting access to meal plans, recipes, education, and more. Natasha is a single mother. She's turned into an entrepreneur. She's a certified health and wellness coach and a published author. She's a motivational speaker, plant-based food advocate. Most importantly, she is a heart disease transplant survivor, which is an amazing thing in itself and miraculous. Natasha also is a Go Red for Women ambassador with the American Heart Association of Central New Jersey. Natasha has had the pleasure of hosting her own health and wellness event called Hyped, HYPED, if you're listening. And that is for helping your people excel deeply. So once again, it's called Hyped, HYP as in Paul, E as in Echo, D as in Dog. And it stands for Helping Your People Excel Deeply in Health. It's a community event where people come to learn more about different health practices, participate in workouts, and shop from local vendors for healthy products. At the current time, Natasha is in school to obtain her bachelor's in science degree with an emphasis on dietetics, pursuing her status as a registered dietitian, which I commend you for that. Not an easy task, but it's just so amazing to me that you're doing that because of all that you went through. So we welcome Natasha. So Natasha, thank you so much for being here tonight. So Natasha, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, um, and where you're living now, and if you have any family.
Okay, so again, Natasha Pennant here. Thank you for having me. Basically, I'm not even someone who was always here my whole life. I was actually born in London. My family is of Jamaican heritage, and so I was born in London, and I came here when I was 5 years old. I lived in Trenton, New Jersey area, and then I'm still in the same area. I'm just in the suburbs, and I've been there ever since I was probably about 7 years old. And so I've been in the same kind of space, but I have family all over the world. I have family in Jamaica, England, Canada, the United States, Guatemala. It doesn't matter. They're everywhere. So
Wow.
I always like to say I always have somewhere to go if I go on vacation. So
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and even if you had to move quickly, you'd have somebody to go to. So that's amazing.
exactly.
Yeah. So do you have family yourself?
I do. I have my son. He's 20. Well, he'll be 23 years old this year.
Mm,
He's a millennial baby born in 2000. And I cohabit with my mother. So we both live in the same household.
okay. Wow. Okay. And now, what does your son do?
My son is a lot of things. He's an entrepreneur in his own right. He has
Mhm.
a clothing company. He's an entertainer. So he writes music as well as performs. And he also has a CBD business.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thank you.
So business runs in the family. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about being diagnosed and living with postpartum cardiomyopathy, and please fill us in. Was there anything that led up to that, or was it just pregnancy? Was it like, did you have any illnesses or anything that led up to that prior to?
Well, I was one of those children who was active. And every time that we had to fill out the health forms, everything was checked off with a no. I had nothing. I have no asthma. I
Mm,
have no allergies, none of that. I'm also one of those people who rarely caught a cold, never had the flu, never had anything. So the diagnosis was a part of being pregnant. And the
oh,
cardiomyopathy is actually an autoimmune issue. So it's not like it was through uh any kind of blockages or anything like that within the heart. I
mhm.
was only 22 years old when I had my son and got diagnosed. And
Mm,
so um leading up to being diagnosed, I noticed that I was having issues after I had him. And those issues were that I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't walk far. I would be out of breath. I would be having a hard time breathing while I was sleeping, and it would wake me up at nighttime. And so I went to the emergency room in order to see what was going on because I grew up active. So I thought maybe I was just out of shape at first.
mm.
So when I went to the emergency room the first time, they told me that something was wrong, but it didn't seem like it was that important. I didn't get any medication or anything like that for it. They drained fluid and sent me home. And so I told them I wasn't going to stay in the hospital too because my son was stuck in a hospital, a university hospital, about 45 minutes away from me because he had a condition called necrotizing enterocolitis. A lot of people might see that on Facebook right now with all of the commercials for people suing for that. Yeah, we're part of that as well. So,
Say it again. What's it called?
necrotizing enterocolitis. So
And what?
basically, it's where he was a preemie. So
Mm,
the formula had a problem with it at the time, and
mm.
the manufacturers knew and didn't let the pediatricians and the um, NICUs or anywhere like that know that there was an issue with preemie babies having the formula. And so as a result, it wound up making the intestine inflamed. And with his case, his intestine was so inflamed that they had to remove a piece of it. And he still suffers from having that piece removed to this day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we went through a lot in the beginning. So
Yeah.
while he's suffering with that, I didn't want to not have to be able to go back and forth to the hospital. But once he came home, about 2.5 months later, I started to feel the same congestion and out of breath and couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I went back to the emergency room, and this time they kept me for a couple of days, and gave me uh, the diagnosis of the postpartum cardiomyopathy. I had medicine that they gave me, diuretics, different heart medications, and tests to see if maybe I had had a heart attack while I was pregnant or anything like that. But none of the sort had ever happened. So for a good while, I had to deal with not understanding what I was dealing with, because back
Yeah,
in 2000, it was way more rare than it is today.
that's interesting. Wow. I never heard of it, and being a health coach, it was something I never heard of. Um, so that must have been pretty scary. I mean, I can only imagine.
Um, I believe people take things in different ways. I think
Hmm.
because of the age that I was and I had a sick baby, he was more the issue than I was to myself. So it didn't affect me in a way where I was scared, or in a way where I thought, life is over for me, kind of a thing. I just continued to do everything that I needed to do.
Hmm.
I'm also not the type to listen to doctors all the time. So, I exercised on the daily. I did what my body allowed me to do. And then with him being young and being so active like he was, once he got to the walking, running stage, I just had to do what I needed to do. You can't really put yourself down when you got a toddler running around that is very active. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like too. You probably just thought, especially if you were tired, you probably was just because you're a mom, you know.
Exactly.
So you didn't know that there was something really more severe going on there.
I
Yeah.
really didn't take any kind of account into just how bad it was.
Wow. So I can only imagine, like, you were only 22. Did they say, like, what caused that? What contributed to it? Is there any reason?
No,
Reason?
basically, they say that it's the stress and the pressures of being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else, like, no food contributing to it.
Yeah.
Though, as a health coach, we know that autoimmune issues can actually be helped with some foods. Not
Oh,
every single one of them, but the majority. And so I always had in the back of my mind, there's got to be some way to clear this out. Like this
mm-hmm.
just can't be it.
Reverse it. Yep.
Right.
And full disclosure, nothing we say here is medical advice or meant to treat, heal, or cure any illness. This is her experiences with, her own issue and her own health issues. You have to check with your own doctor. So just full medical disclosure there. But yeah, no, that's just incredible of going through that at such a young age, like not knowing what the heck is going on. You're only 22. And like I said, I never even, you must have been like, what in the heck is that? Like when they told you what it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was something that was weird to figure out, kind of a thing. But like I said, I was younger, and I know I've seen younger people who have it, and they do get the scared and everything like that. But like I said, I've always been one to be out of the box kind of a thing and just do my own thing. I
Mm-hmm.
listened to my doctors. I did what I was supposed to do. That's
Right.
not where that is. But I wanted to know what else could be done about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of different health gurus that I followed at the time, and I had friends who were more into natural health, and I tried to see what they were doing, and where I could change in certain things. So the problem was I would exercise and not eat well, or I would eat well and not exercise. I never thought that the both of them together would
Yeah.
really make that kind of a difference back then. So,
Right.
um, you know, it was just a nice number of years of being plagued with this heart condition. And when stress hit me in hard times, then I would be in congestive heart failure.
That's unbelievable. Wow. So you had to have a transplant. So tell us a little bit about the heart transplant. And
Okay.
when was that? Like just give us like a little inclination. Now you had your baby. How old's the baby? How old are you? Give us a
Okay.
little background on that, and then tell us about the transplant.
So leading up to the heart transplant, I got to backtrack because
Okay.
I did actually reverse my heart condition. I reversed it in 2016, and
Okay.
what happened was in 2014, I had an issue where I had a bad breakup, and it basically was cardiomyopathy on top of cardiomyopathy because broken heart syndrome is a form of cardiomyopathy, and
Yeah.
so I wound up being in the hospital. My congestive heart failure doctor told me that I would need to have a heart transplant. And at the time, I was already getting back into eating healthy and exercising at the same time. And I said to him, I'm not going to have a heart transplant. I said, God made it so that we can heal ourselves, and that's what I'm going to do. So he told me that, well, I understand what you believe in, but this is what's going to happen. This is, I've been told by several doctors, this is what the books say. And so basically, I just said to him, well, we'll see about that. And so I asked him to go over supplements with me to see what would interact with my medicines. He told me that he wouldn't be able to do that. And I said, okay, well, let's just do this off of the record because this is my health here. And I understand that, you made an oath to not do certain things, but I need to know what I can do.
Mm.
So, excuse me. So basically, I wound up getting transferred to another uh, congestive heart failure doctor, and he tried to help me in his best ways. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So uh, with that, I got a doctor that was in New York. His name is Dr. Dennis Goodman, and he was phenomenal, so phenomenal. And he was from South Africa. He was at NYU, and so he put me on supplements. Um, is it okay for me to say what those supplements were?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's just, nothing said is meant to heal or cure any illness, but of course you can say what they are. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have an itch in my throat. My son
Do
went to
you
give
need
me.
to get a sip of water?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know where that came from. Okay. It's right there. I wish I could just scratch it myself.
Oh
um,
no.
thank you, Chai. So, what he put me on was magnesium because
Mm-hmm.
magnesium is good for the heart. Sorry. He put me on vitamin D3.
Mm-hmm.
Put me on krill oil. He put me on to vitamin K2 and CoQ10.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
all of those are powerful for the heart to pump the way that it needs to. And while
Right.
I was doing that, I was walking every single day. And mind you, I had a 24-hour IV, which was milrinone. And so I'm walking, I'm doing restorative yoga because I couldn't place any pressure on the arm with the PIC line. And I was eating very, very well. At that point in time, I decided to just pull in a lot of vegetables into my diet and reduce my meat intake.
Mm-hmm.
So by I started with all of that in March, and by the time September came around, I was actually given the okay to come off of the 24-hour IV. When I came off of the 24-hour IV, my doctor said, "Well, there's a big chance that you can come back." I'm like, "That's not what the goal is here." So
Oh.
I'll thank you for telling me that, but see you. And
Mm.
in that was in 2015 September, and by September 2016. I took a stress test, which revealed that my ejection fraction, which is the amount of blood that your heart pumps with each pump, had went from 30 uh, to 55%, which is pretty good. That's what you're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be in between 55 and 65%.
Nice.
So I was happy. It's the first time my son had ever even seen me healthy. We did a lot of things. We did a lot of vacations. We did a whole bunch of stuff. But unfortunately, one day I drank water the wrong way and it went down my trachea instead of the esophagus. And that week I was taking water pills because I felt like I was back in congestive heart failure just because
Oh,
the water
good.
that I drank. I went to the hospital several times. And unfortunately, because of my history, they figured I was just in congestive heart failure.
Oh my God.
So this lasted from the winter of 2017 until the summer of 2019, back and forth. Summertime, I would be fine. As long as I was working out and exercising, it didn't bother me. But in the wintertime, when I was slowing down a little bit because of, going outside was not conducive because of the weather in the Northeast, I would feel it as soon as the weather started to change.
Mm.
So I managed to get through the spring, and we went on a cruise and came back home. I was eating and drinking some watermelon. I was making watermelon juice this one day, and unfortunately, I was throwing it back up. Didn't understand why. It's watermelon, right?
Yeah.
Didn't think that anything would happen. So the end result in all of that, after 3 weeks of being sick at home and just winding up getting to the point where it wasn't even food or anything else that I was throwing up anymore. It was just air, not even bile, but it was air. I went to the hospital here where I live, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They were going to send me home and put me on hospice. A doctor happened to be in the hospital, told my mother I'm not supposed to be there, and they sent me to Cooper Hospital in Camden, New Jersey. They figured out what was wrong immediately. They got me prepared, and they sent me to Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia. And I'm sorry. And it wound up being that I was in sepsis.
Oh my God.
Nobody caught it before they sent me down to Cooper. My liver, my kidneys, heart, pancreas, gallbladder, they were all messed up. And they were all pretty much failing. And so they wound up getting me back to a good place and put me into a regular floor after being in the ICU for a while. And once they got me to start walking, unfortunately, I'm sorry. Once they got me to start walking, I unfortunately got to a place where my heart just dropped. And so they wound up putting me on a balloon pump.
Mm.
I didn't realize because I wasn't told, but the balloon pump was the precursor to the heart transplant. And so my heart had gotten so weak that my ejection fraction was now at 5%, probably less than. And the pump is what kept my heart pumping. And I was given some good advice by a plant-based cardiologist that helped me to make the final decision to get onto the heart transplant list. And within a week, I had a new heart. So basically, that's how the transplant portion came about.
So let's backtrack just a little bit for people that are watching the replay. People that are watching. So you were pregnant, you had the baby. So then you tried to reverse the heart disease. For how long? How many years was that?
Oh, before I actually did reverse it, it
Yeah.
had been 16 years.
So you took 16 years to reverse the heart disease, and then you had to have a heart transplant 16 years later. Is that right?
The heart transplant itself happened, let's see, 2000, but we're going from 2016 when I reversed it, 2019 when I had the transplant.
Okay. But you were pregnant when?
2000.
Yeah, so it was 16 years from when you
Yes.
were pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Then 2016 to 2019. Wow. It's quite a journey. So for 16 years, you thought you were kind of in the clear.
Well, not really for 16 years that I thought I was in clear. It had only been about 2 to 3 years.
Oh, okay.
2016 to 2019.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Wow. So prior to that, you were just living on medicine or whatever?
Right. Prior to that, I
Okay.
was on my medicines. I was, listening to what the doctors were saying, but still doing my own kind of a journey trying to figure out what would work.
And
So
how was that? Like, did you feel ill in all those years? Or was the medicine helping?
I don't know how much the medicine was actually helping. I know that it helped a bit, you know what I mean? Because obviously no medicine would have made me worse.
Yeah.
Well, I know that it was helping a bit. Um, but through those years, there was a time when my blood pressure just wouldn't go down. It was so high and it just would not go down, no matter how many different medications they tried to put me on. The moment that I began to eat more vegetables, even prior to 2016, it was about 2012-ish, my blood pressure went down and I lost weight without having to exercise. And all I did was add in more leafy green vegetables to my diet.
Mm. Yeah, leafy greens are great for the blood, great for the heart. Yep. And what's sad, we said, my roommate and I used to say this at college. It's really sad they put everybody on Coumadin, and when you're on Coumadin,
You can't have the leafy
have
greens.
leafy greens, but the leafy greens are the one thing that could help with the blood. So
Exactly.
it's like, yeah, my mom was on Coumadin, and she really wanted to go off it. She was getting really sick of it, didn't like how it made her feel. She swore that was what was not making her feel well. And, of course, she asked her doctor, and her doctor's like, well, Nellie, you do what you want. You do what you want to do. And my mother was scared to go off of it. She never, till the day she died, she never went off of it. But, and like I said, we can't tell you what to do, but it's really sad, when this one thing, eating more greens, can help with your blood, can help with your heart, and everybody's on Coumadin. So can't tell you what to do, but just something to think about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So where are we now? Let's see. So now you have helped yourself in an unbelievable, incredible way. First of all, first and foremost, how are you feeling now? Before we even talk about anything else.
Okay. I feel pretty fine, right? I don't have any kind of issues. I have gone through issues, but I don't have any kind of issues at the current moment. I'm able to do a lot more than I was able to do even when I reversed the heart condition, because that heart was still sick. It had to recover, right? So I'm able to do so much more. I can walk upstairs without sounding like I ran a marathon. I can, walk for miles, and the only thing that'll get tired are my legs. And so it's just a blessing to be able to go through everything that I've been through. There are issues that are lingering because of being a heart transplant survivor. I have issues with my kidneys. I have issues with my blood sugar, and as a result of that, my eyesight. So there's a lot of things that I'm facing at the moment, but it's not that it can't be tackled. It's just that I have to be careful to not be too healthy now, because I'm on anti-rejection medications. And if I make myself too healthy, I'll reject the heart.
Wow. That's a little scary. But obviously, God's got more for you to do. Yeah,
Obviously.
got a lot more for you to do. Yep. So now you're helping others. So tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing to help others? Are you taking on clients yet? What's happening?
Well, in 2014, I decided to enroll in the Integrative Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and graduated in 2015. And so I started my own health and wellness business. And initially, I was doing one-on-ones, doing group coaching, and then I started to do cooking classes for plant-based cooking, because that's when I realized, oh, this helped me to get better. So I started to do that, and then I had to have the heart transplant. So coming back wasn't so easy for me. I had issues with standing up for a long time in the kitchen. I would put on a pot of rice and my ankles and my legs would be swollen. And I hadn't even done too much of anything yet. So I was trying to find a way in which to make it better for me. So what I realized I could do was create a membership where people can actually join in and be able to get the support that they need to transfer to a plant-based way of living and eating. Because I noticed there were so many vegan groups on Facebook, and people are very vicious towards other people. And so when somebody's trying to make that transition, they're like, no, you shouldn't do it this way. You need to be doing it that way. We're doing it for the animals. We're doing it for this. And my thing is that some people don't understand exactly what they need to do because it's a whole new world for them. And so therefore, it needs to be done in baby steps for those who just can't do it point blank, like, somebody trying to quit cigarettes or something. So my whole thing is that it took me a while to realize what I needed to do for myself on that journey. And I know there's a lot of other people who need help in that path. And if they're steered in a different direction, then what will happen is they're going to get frustrated and turn away from it altogether. And you never know what you could have been, trying to fight or do, but because somebody's being so insensitive, they're not able to help you move along in your path, and then, you know, you don't go that way. So I wanted to put that membership together where people would have um, meal plans that are put together. They'd be able to congregate with other community members. I'd be doing a weekly or biweekly one group session chat with everybody. They would get discounts on any kind of program or workshop that I would host, and then I would also do cooking demonstrations so that they can see how to make certain things, especially in the basics of things. So people who want to learn how to make alternative meats or alternative milk products, we definitely do classes on that so that they can have those staples in their house and not have to go out and purchase the stuff that still has a lot of stuff, chemicals and all of that in there. They could just go ahead and make it at home and learn how to batch and do a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah, that's awesome, Natasha. I took a raw food class, and then I taught raw food classes myself. So for anybody listening, raw food is not anything scary. It's not raw hamburger. It's not raw fish. It's eating foods in its whole form. Like, it's just you can have lightly steamed vegetables, but nothing over 115 to 118 degrees. Raw food is eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, sea vegetables, things like that. It's not for everybody. If you have like gut issues, raw vegetables can be tough for the gut. But for me, like, I had to go back to the basics. I had to eat whole foods to heal my body. I couldn't eat anything. Nothing was going down. So when she says plant-based, it's on the same idea, but I'm sure you had, some cooked food along with that. And I do eat cooked food now, and I lived in Massachusetts. I am in North Carolina now. It's hard to eat whole foods, foods that aren't cooked for the most part. You could have warm soups or, like I said, steamed vegetables or whatever. But for the most part, it was a lot of cold foods. And it's hard to eat that way when it's cold out. Even here in North Carolina, it gets pretty chilly. It's like a mild winter, so I still need some cooked food. I have, I'll eat like gluten-free pasta or whatever. But yeah, people need to do what works for them and not listen to everybody else. And I too went to the New York School of Integrative Nutrition. I went there live, Natasha. I went.
Nice.
Yeah, I went in 2010, and I went in Manhattan, Upper West Manhattan. It was an amazing experience. That's all I
I
can tell you.
wanted to go when it was live, but it was just not feasible for me with work. So once I got
Yeah,
on disability, I said, "Oh, I can do this now."
yeah, yeah. I think it was the following year. I want to say 2010. I think they did one more group live, and then they started to go online. And then what they do now, for anybody listening, you want to do integrative nutrition, instead of having live classes, what they seem to do now, they do a lot of it online, but they have events. So
Right.
you can still get that camaraderie with people and meet people. It helps. It really pumps you up when you're around a lot of people that are doing the same type of work. Everybody's different in what niche that you do, but it helps to be around a lot of people that are doing something similar, someone to talk to, whereas when you're online, you don't have that. So unless you're in a group, but it's still not the same thing. Like when you're there, like you're sitting in the audience and it's almost like a sales event. You get pumped up, you get excited, and they would do stuff like that. We would do they'd have a little dance session in the middle of the aisles, and it was fun. We had a lot of fun. It was
Yeah,
fun.
I went to 2 events.
Oh, you did? So
and
it's
I was
very
able
similar.
to see the Food Babe, Venus Williams. I forgot who else was there, but it was I saw David Wolf,
I
and
love
so it was
it.
really really phenomenal, like to be there live.
It is. Yep. So when I went, we had people like David Wolf, Sally Fallon, Paul Pitchford from Healing with Whole Foods. I'm trying to think. Dr. Furman, Dr. Mark Hyman, Harmon. I can't even say his name. Dr. Neil Barnard. We saw just phenomenal. Deepak Chopra, phenomenal people.
I was
Bernie.
actually blessed by Dr. Neil Bernard, because the cardiologist who helped me to just realize that my heart was too far gone knows all of them. Her name is Dr. Danielle Bellardo, and she had him on the phone while she was talking to him about my health, and he told her to tell me what to take and what supplements to tell my doctors I should take.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the first books that I read was from Dr. Neil Barnard, because my coach was Alex Jameson from the movie Super Size Me. So that's how I wound up at Integrative Nutrition. And it was a few years later, like when I met her, she was my coach to help me with the food allergies. And I had said to her, I said, Alex, one of these days we're going to be working side by side. But we aren't. But in a sense, we are, because we're doing the same type of work. But yeah, she was my mentor, my coach. And so I met a lot of these, I started to know, I should say, a lot of these health gurus through her. Like she sent me books from Dr. Neil Barnard and Dr. Furman. She'd just send them to you. She was great like that. So yeah. So we have a lot in common. Yeah, integrative nutrition was an amazing experience. I'm glad you got to go to some live events, because it's life-changing when you do that. It really is. Yeah.
I believe it was. And also to meet other people. It was amazing.
I was amazed. I mean, I went in 2009, I think. I was amazed to see how many people had gut issues. And now look at it. It's like quadrupled. You know? I mean, everybody I sat next to had some sort of gut issue,
No.
Just about my roommate did. She had hers was more with the gallbladder. She couldn't eat anything with fat. It was she had anything with oil, she'd be in pain. If she had, and it was always gallbladder type thing. The bile wasn't working right. That was what was going on with her. I mean, I remember one day, myself and another woman, we went and got salads, right? I got mine, I think I had spinach or something like that. And she got romaine. Here's how crazy digestion can be. We came back and she was in pain. I said, we both got salads. Why are you in pain, right? Romaine is harder to digest than just mixed greens or something like that. So wow. I had digestive enzymes. I used to take them at the time. And again, not medical advice. And they were actually really good ones. They were standard process. I said, take a couple of these. No, I can't. She was all scared too. I'm like, they're not a prescription. They're just standard process. They're really, one of the best. I got them from a chiropractor. And she took those and boom, stomach ache went away because she needed to digest that food.
Right.
So that's I'm telling you, so many people. And that was in 2009. Now look at it. It's just getting
spiraling.
worse. It's, yeah. It's
You know,
crazy.
it's funny that you say that because you mentioned in the beginning that you had never heard of postpartum cardiomyopathy. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my now friends who I met through IIN, um, her name is Sherry, but when she had her daughter, she was also diagnosed with postpartum cardiomyopathy. So we became friends off of the fact that we knew what each other was going through.
Wow. That's incredible. It's crazy how a lot of these illnesses now are getting more common. Like we never heard of them before. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So tell us a little bit about what made you decide. So now you went to integrative nutrition, you graduated from that. Tell us a little bit about what made you decide now you're studying to be a dietitian, which is even more studying, more schooling. I started the opposite. I started to get my bachelor's degree in health, and then I went to integrative nutrition. So tell us a little bit about going back to school to be a dietitian. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
It
study.
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But the reason being is because of the fact that I'll be able to help more people by not just guiding them into what to eat better, but to being able to give them a protocol to help
Right.
them to get on the right track. Right now, because I'm only a health coach, I can't do that.
Right.
And, you know, it's hard when you're watching somebody struggling with what they're trying to eat, and some people just still might not be able to get it. So at least I know that with a degree in dietetics, I'll be able to help them by suggesting what kind of supplements, by suggesting what they should be eating versus what they should not be eating, and then creating like a meal plan based on, their. I personally don't count calories, but just so that they can be able to track what they're doing, I know that I'll be able to help them by showing how much calorie intake that they're taking in um, for a healthy diet versus, people who are on like binge diets or, don't eat enough, or even if they're eating healthy, they hurt themselves by not eating if they need to eat because they're eating healthy. So, just being able to help people in wherever they're at.
Yeah, no, it's more advanced and it's more I always say it's more scientific.
Right.
Like for instance, they sent me to a nutritionist when I was trying to figure out this food allergy thing. Nothing against her. She was just trying to put me on like Boost and like protein shakes and asking me how many carbs I was getting, how many proteins. She was just trying to make sure my body was getting what it needed. But at the time, I was like, I really don't care. I just want to stay alive. So that was just, my experience with that. I just couldn't do what she was telling me to do. But I get it. Like you have to make sure the body's getting the right nutrients.
Exactly.
In fact, I just met somebody the other night. She has like an enlarged liver. I've never really heard of somebody with like that before. And sometimes I can be intuitive, and I just kept hearing nutrients. It's like, so there's probably she's somewhere not getting the right nutrients somewhere. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know, but I just said to her, I said, make sure you're getting enough nutrients and make sure you get that checked out. I mean, can't, I don't know for sure. I mean, but I just kept hearing that, like she might not be getting enough nutrients because of that. So
Exactly.
you never know. But yeah, I just think, dietitians, nutritionists, they can be more scientific, like what they can really get down and deep to what the body needs. Whereas a health coach, it's more, it's just a little bit more basic. We can get you back on track,
Right. Right.
get on track. Yeah. No, I totally get it. Um, so tell us about this hyped event. Tell us about that.
Okay. I started Hyped in Health in 2000 and 2018. And I did it because I was actually challenged to do so. And so I took up on the challenge, and I literally had about 6 months to plan it. And I decided, okay, well, I can do it at my local community center. And I didn't realize how I was going to go about it. But what wound up happening is my community center has two big, huge rooms, and then they have small rooms that are upstairs. So what I did was I had the main room where everybody would gather and listen to the speakers. And I was able to pull, I know a lot of different people in the health world. So I was able to pull people from my community and around so that they could come in and do different speeches. In the other large room, I had the vendors. And so that's where everybody would go to get whatever it was that they wanted. I had t-shirt vendors, crystal vendors, different vendors from different MLMs. And so that was awesome. And then upstairs, I had breakout rooms for different workshops. So there was like a yoni steam workshop, there was a Zumba workshop, a yoga workshop. And I made sure that all of that happened. And then everybody would come back down and listen to the keynote speaker.
Oh, wow.
So I've actually been in different settings where you see, things happening at conventions. So I was like, I'll just piggyback off of what they do and make it like that. And it was actually very successful. And I was able to make it so that when I have the vendors, that fund went to paying for the venue as well as the food that was being served. And so I had two different companies that were serving food, and they were both plant-based. And I made sure that whoever came, it was free to the public, so that they could get a taste and see what plant-based food can be like without it, having a stigma of it just tasting like wood or, you know what I mean, cardboard. So
Right.
was able to do that, and it was just a phenomenal event. And then I did it again in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bigger and better. And I had more people come out to do workshops. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to carry it on in 2020 because of COVID. And the good thing is that this year I will be putting it back on again.
Oh,
So
good.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, well, let me know. I'm looking for sponsors for the show. So if you put the event together, we can sponsor it on the show. Let me know.
That would be awesome. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So anybody listening, you've got an event coming up or anything, or even if you have supplements, whatever, anything somewhat health related, I'm looking for sponsors for the show. So, and I'm soon to have a podcast too. So let me know. Reach out to me via Instagram, Facebook. My phone number is 508-330-9665 if you're listening. And you can always just go to the website and reach me that way. You can text me. That's the best way to get me, and then I'll get back to you. So just wanted to throw that out there. So give us some tips. Being your own health advocate, ask the questions that will get you answers. Okay, so just, give us some tips for the audience.
Okay. So I believe what I wrote
Yeah.
is, one, you got to really be your own health advocate. It's important because you know your body, you know how certain things feel, and it's really important for you to be very intuitive to how you're feeling. Listen to your body so that when you're at the doctor's office, you can relay everything that's going on. The problem with Western medicine is that they treat where you say the issue is, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you're really sick. So you want to be able to expand on everything so that your whole body is being treated versus just the area where the specialist is going to help you. You want to make sure that you're asking all of the right questions. You write anything down as it happens to you in between doctor's appointments so that you can make sure that you address them, ask the right questions, and so that you can get the proper answers to help you move forward. I always say that your health, any kind of a diagnosis, is like a mall map, and it'll say you are here. And that's because you are here. It gives you the direction in which you need to go. So if you know you got a diagnosis, well, then you know that there's steps that you're going to need to take. And for the most part, if you're not eating healthy or exercising, then it gives you the go ahead to say, you know what, let me change how I'm eating. Let me change what I'm doing so that I can actually contribute to my health. And, whatever happens at the doctor's office, they can monitor my health as I transition as well.
Yep. Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. The other thing I always say on this show too, be careful to make sure you check with your doctor. Like if you are offered any supplements or anything, check with your doctor, like if that's going to mix with any medications that you're on or anything. I never knew this, and I found this out, and I always try to advertise it. Well, I don't want to say advertise it, but mention it, educate about it. Your body might be, especially if you're ill, you might have a certain number of white blood cells or red blood cells or whatever it might be. And even if it seems like it's a healthy supplement or something, it may not work in your body. And it might do more harm than good. Always check. So if you find other practitioners or find other products or whatever, and everybody's like, hey, yeah, take this, it's good, like I'll just throw out something, and I'm not saying that this is bad or good, but just say moringa, for instance. It's a really good supplement, right? But maybe your body just can't handle it. Maybe there's just something in your body that it's not good for you. So just always check on that. I always like to emphasize that because it's something I didn't know anything about. And as a health coach, you're always like, yeah, aloe's really good, or like moringa, or whatever it is, wheatgrass, whatever. But certain things might not work in your body. So make sure you check with a really good, either a naturopath or your own doctor that can tell you that these supplements will work okay with whatever medications you're on, whatever your body is going through, whatever blood cell counts you have, whatever it is. So I just like to always throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you do have to listen to your own body. And just go back and watch some of my other shows and you'll hear why. So another tip. So what's your other second tip?
So the other tip is that there's a quote that I heard from he's actually like a biologist. But the quote is that your body does not understand opinion. And that's very, very important because we have a lot of people who have those opinions, what they like, what they don't like. And the sad thing is, while food has evolved dramatically over the past 100 years, our bodies are still the same as when we were created in the beginning of creation. So those foods that are now there, we don't have any way of really digesting them. And that's why there's so many illnesses that are happening now, because we're ingesting things that we were never, ever supposed to ingest. So the fact that your body doesn't have the opinion to say yes, that good food is going to be good for us. No, it only can take the foods that are nutrient dense. So when you take in what you have to take in versus what you want to take in, it's a better place for your body to be in. And so that's why I say that's a quote that I will always, always mention because of the fact that it's the truth. And if it's not the truth, you never see it right away. It takes years sometimes for some people's illnesses to surface. So it's better to treat it the right way, act like it doesn't have the opinion, and eat the foods that will nourish it versus the foods that will hurt it.
I agree. And one thing I've learned to do, because I was a junk food junkie, I liked my sugar, I liked my Frosted Flakes, all that good stuff, Doritos. But what I started to do, and it was when I took the raw food course that really helped me. It was a 10-week long course. It was amazing. When I started to realize what food can do for your body and how it's helping you, that's what helped me. That's what changed my mind. Like, I was like, really? This can do that? Like, one of my pivotal turning points is, this will crack you up, but I had to eliminate, when I didn't know what I was allergic to, I was eliminating everything, and I wasn't even eating any sugar. And so one day I had a kiwi. I will never forget, after I ate that kiwi, I could have ran a marathon. I had so much energy. And it was kind of like turning points like that. It was like, oh my gosh, this is what it can really do for you. I didn't know, because I was eating so much junk. I never knew what a piece of fruit and how much energy and what it could do for you. So things like that started to turn me around. Like, okay, water, like how good water is for you, how it can, help with weight loss and joint pain and allergies. Now I'm getting dry, things like that. So I totally agree with, your body has an opinion and you've got to listen to it. It craves what it needs. Yep.
Absolutely.
So what's your third tip?
The third tip is to release feeling that whatever your grandparents did was okay. Just because your grandparents ate steak and they ate everything and they were fine doesn't mean anything. Here's the thing. What they ate still wasn't that good enough for them because of the fact that prior to them, your ancestors didn't have the meat readily available. They didn't have, water readily available. So the fluid intake came from mostly fruits, and the meat intake came in when people went and hunted and came back. And if they were in a village, they only had a small piece each. It wasn't a whole pound of steak, right? So, just because you feel like your grandparents ate something and everything was fine, they were the generations that were just starting out not to eat so great, right? So when you bring it full circle and come to now, where now we've had these foods and they're not even raised the same way that your grandparents ate them. They're not, given the same kind of care, being free. They're given all kinds of antibiotics and all kinds of other medications. Not to mention the feed that they're given is not natural to them. Not to mention that, the ground, if they did graze, is not exactly the best because there's a lot of chemicals on the ground now, which
Yeah.
has depleted the soil. So when you look at things like that, everything is not the same. And so you wonder why there's so many illnesses that continue to come up and up and up. And, illnesses that were once rare, like even the one I had, aren't as rare as they used to be. And it's because of the foods that we eat. So when you say that, well, my grandparents used to eat this, and that, so I'm going to eat it anyway. No, it's evolved. It's not the same thing that your grandparents ate.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we've only got a couple minutes left, so I want to thank you for being on tonight. Natasha, let us know, do you have anything? I think you said you're an author. If you have anything that you want to offer to anybody, where they can find you, where they can reach you if they wanted to reach you.
Uh-huh. I'm on all social media outlets as the Health Conscious Diva. And you can always go onto my website, thehealthconsciousdiva.com. I'm going to start doing online cooking classes. So if you go onto my website and sign up for the newsletter, you'll definitely get information for that. And I also am going to officially launch my membership next month in May,
Okay.
more than most likely on May the 15th. So I'm looking to get some people to actually beta test it to see. So if they can reach out to me and I can bring you on board and we can see what we can do for the beginning portion.
All right. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I look forward to that.
Thank you.
And also, what I'm doing, and we're doing a master class May 6th, 7 p.m. So if anybody is interested in that, and I'd love to have you too, Natasha, we're going to dive deep into the spiritual root of illness and really just discuss that and talk about some ways that we can release it through prayer, through, going back into, like you had said, for instance, that it was a broken heart that can relate to what you're going through. It's not always the whole reason, but it's a good portion of it. It's a good portion of it. Our emotional problems are a good portion of our physical problems. I mean, we can go deep, we can go into the bloodline and generational and all of that, but we are doing that, and it's going to be with my friend Judy, who also just became a life and health coach. And it's going to be with Bill and Diane Conklin, who was on this show a couple of shows back, and we talked about it then. So now I'm getting dry. But I just wanted to put that out there. That's going to be May 6th. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to me and we'll get you signed up. We'll be advertising that shortly. And once again, looking for sponsors for the show. Soon can have a podcast. Make sure you like the YouTube channel for Elevation TV Network, my YouTube channel, Enrich Your Health. And if you're going through something in your health, I specifically help people with food allergies, food sensitivities, gut health, anything like that, autoimmune. I help with Lyme disease. May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. If you have any events you'd like me to help out with, I'm a big Lyme disease advocate. please reach out to me. So thank you again, Natasha. This has been great. I really appreciate you being on tonight. I learned a ton about this illness. I didn't know anything about it. So thank you so much for being on tonight and
You're
sharing
welcome.
the story with us.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we will see you next Sunday, and we're looking for guests for the show too. So please reach out to me. Bye, everybody. Thank you.